And we're live.
And we're live.
How we doing, Kenya? Everything good?
I'm doing good. We've got a new face.
I know.
With the entrance of our podcast.
That's it right there. We just, changing it up every week,
Hey, got to keep the people on their toes.
That's right. So welcome, everyone, to this week's edition of the Tennessee USA Wrestling Power Hour podcast. I'm your host, State Chairman Mike Hatcher, and my co-host, Kenya Sloan. And we weren't even waiting to pull this lady into the into the main stage with us during this podcast. Jenna Morris, assistant coach from Cleveland, assistant girls coach. So she's going to join us here right in the beginning while Kenya's kind of doing a little recap on the girls' side. We'll do it from that week. Jenna, how are we doing today?
Good. Thanks for having me on.
Long time no see. I used to see the Morrises all the time.
You did?
Yeah, I don't get to see them all any.
How'd you get to see the Morrises all the time? I'm jealous.
When I was living in Chattanooga, or when I was living in Chattanooga, Cleveland, that whole area there. And then they went to Tullahoma. It seemed like to me like I was used to see them a lot more. I worked Bonnaroo with them.
Lived in Cleveland before we went to Tullahoma.
Yeah. Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, so that's where I met him. So yeah, Kenya, take it away. We're gonna rock this girl side out right now. Let's go.
I'm actually so glad that you just took it upon yourself to keep Jenna on here while we go over the results, because I wasn't there. So I'm just kind of reading them off of paper and hearing what I heard was good. But you were there. So as I just go through these, feel free to pitch in, or I might even ask you about some of the moments that you might have seen or might not have seen. And you can give us some more of an insider look into what I'm going to share. So on the girls' side this week, we're just going to share the results from state duels. I think that's what we'll do with the boys today. We're state duel tournament recap today. So for the first round, there were some pretty good matches. We'll follow Clarksville through their tournament. What do they call it whenever you tell things ahead of time? Spoiler. Clarksville. Yeah, thank you. Spoiler. Clarksville wins the tournament. So we're gonna follow them through their route to winning state duels. So in the first round, Clarksville defeated Bradley. So we had Coach Matthews on last week from Bradley, and he was obviously talking about the layout of his team and how they made it to the state tournament. So if you know much about, after hearing about that team, if you know much about Clarksville's lineup, I mean, this wasn't a surprise how it went. But it was a 57-12 win. I think those two wins are still great on behalf of Bradley for the young and small team that they have. The most notable moment from that duel, which I'll let you just tell me about a little bit, Jenna, since you were there, was the 120-pound match against Ava Johnson, who was seated number 3 on Clarksville's team, and Natalie Shane, who is the number one ranked girl in the state on Bradley's team. And Miss Johnson came out with a pin against Miss Shane, who was ranked a little bit above her. Obviously you were in the corner for that match, Coach Jenna.
Yeah, I didn't see that match. I did hear about it because blowing up of, did you see the Bradley match?
Yeah, you had your own stuff going on over across the room.
Telling me, and I was like, no, I didn't see it. I'm a huge fan of Natalie Shane. Man, that girl works. I've seen her in the practice room working. She works a lot with coaches around Cleveland, and I was a little shocked with that. I'm not sure that that will be the result come round 2
later on. Yeah, well, that's what's fun about wrestling. So you can go back.
Natalie was out a little bit for an injury, so I just think Natalie next time. But it was kind of a shock. But it's always up for whoever's gonna bring it.
Who's ready? Who shows up with their shoes tied up that day?
That's right.
So I'm sure that was a cool one to watch me a part of. Moving forward, Cleveland and Northwest were in the first round too. So you guys defeated Northwest 39-21. But I heard that was a pretty good duel, maybe a little bit more competitive than what might have been expected on paper. There was 2 ranked wrestlers that battled it out at 114. So we know you got a more up close image of that match. So we had Senna Grassman at number 1 and then Cheyenne Mikulski at number 2. So I'm sure that was an anticipated match that you guys could have seen going either way, but Senna came out with a win 8-5. So it was probably, at least on paper, the most exciting match in the duel. But I'll finish going through the results and I'll let you tell me more about the other matches. So, and then in the finals, we had Cleveland and Clarksville. Cleveland defeated Clarksville 36-32, which I sounds closer than it was, but from my understanding, Cleveland forfeited the last 3 matches of that duel. Was that something you guys chose out of strategy, or was the last 3 just need to be forfeited?
Yeah, once we had locked up the duel, we just felt like we want to keep our wrestlers safe. We still have individual titles to win. What's throwing them out there for really no reason.
Yeah.
Made the decision to go ahead and forfeit that, since all we need to do was win, and that's what we did. So
yeah,
went ahead and forfeit.
Yeah, I'm so happy that someone else, shout out Mackenzie Fowler, helped fill me in on what happened, because whenever I first had just seen the result of 36-32, I was kind of, not impressed, because obviously that's a great team as well. But in my mind, I thought the duel might have went different than it did until she told me that you guys had forfeited the last 3 matches. So that's quite obviously a dominant performance on Clarksville's end. And then the 3rd place match was against Northwest and Bradley. A good showing on both teams' part. Northwest took the win 42-24, and they had also forfeited their last 2 matches. So I could see some strategy on multiple team sides, if you guys knowing what's close and ahead and just taking care of business and doing what needs to be done. So that was our state duel tournament and how everything went big picture. Having Coach Jenna here, I just wanted to ask if there was any other matches that I didn't talk about that were maybe more exciting than anticipated, or maybe some matches that were supposed to be pretty neck and neck that ended up not being that way throughout the duel, or did everything kind of go the way you expected it to?
I just think for us, the semis match with Northwest, it didn't go exactly how I anticipated it. Coach Bedell had, I'm not going to lie, I was over there sweating it, and I was like telling the girls, like, y'all wake up, because I'm just over here panicking, like, y'all are going to blow this.
Tell you what, you can't coach Bell out. You can't count him out. Tell you, he's savvy. He's savvy. He's a great coach. He's a really good coach.
So as far as just the semis match, like, we had a couple matches that we definitely didn't expect to roll over to our backs and get pinned. And particularly, we're talking about Senna and Cheyenne's match at 114. Senna was up 8-0 going into the 3rd period. She dominating the match, and then she just got caught in a bad position, got on her back. And as soon as Senna is on her back, that's when I internally started panicking. I was like, oh no. Senna's someone that, she's guaranteed 6 almost every time she wrestled. So we definitely count on her, and then seeing her on her back, but she was able to fight off her back, and then our 120 pounder was able to lock up the match for us. But I would say the semis match for us was definitely the most exciting match, because I give them props. They were ready.
Yeah, that's awesome. Wrestling.
Our girls responded well.
Sorry, I cut you off. Your girls responded well.
I was going to say our girls responded really well in the finals. I think they realized, I think it was the culmination of things in the semifinals that, they hadn't really wrestled much since December. We hit it really hard in December, and then we kind of took a little bit of rest in January to rest up. And I don't know if a little bit just they felt like, because we are a really good team, and they felt like, hey, we're going to roll in here and it's going to be easy. And also coming in with last year, they didn't have a target on their back, and this year they on their back. Everybody wants to take down, Cleveland and the returning state champs. So just kind of having to figure out how to wrestle in that manner was, I think, really got them in the semifinals. But after that, they responded exactly how they needed to, and they handled business in the finals. against Clarksville.
Absolutely. So leading up to this tournament, it sounds like there were some strategic moves made, like on behalf of the coaching staff, on allowing the team to be able to rest up and not have a lot of competition leading up into this month. But was there anything else like specific that you guys worked on as a team to prepare specifically for this? Or did you guys just go with the team that you have and let them show up and do whatever they knew to do?
Josh Boskin is the mastermind of wrestling. I told him after the state duels, I told him and I said, congratulations, you are definitely the king of wrestling in Tennessee.
The king.
Josh, and I fully believe it. And I don't always agree with Josh. There's a lot of times that I give him a hard time because I don't agree with some things, but he knows what he's doing. And so I'm like, okay, I believe you because he definitely knows what he's doing. But he made the schedule. He made a really tough schedule in December. It was back to back. We went to Valkyrie duels at Northwest, had a tough tournament there. And then we turned around and went to Florida for the knockout tournament right before Christmas break. And we pounded the girls to get ready for that. And then we rest up. But Coach Boskin, he is perfect at getting them ready, period, across the board. He studies every wrestler that they're going to come across. He tells them, hey, this is what they're going to do, and this is what you're going to do. And the girls buy into everything that he says, and hang on to literally everything that he says. How they prepare. They do the thing every day to get really good at it, and they're going to beat you.
They're going to beat you.
Body.
Sure.
But they believe, and Boskin's made them believe, and they'll run through that wall to continue that.
That's awesome. Yeah. Well, congratulations on your guys' win. It's going to be hard not to have you all on every single week. Hatch and I were talking about it. It's like you guys are always kicking butt. We've got to share the love.
Yeah.
People. But we're happy to have you on after this past performance, obviously representing Cleveland.
I know.
But I also wanted to pick your brain a little bit because, Hatch, I think Coach Jenna has been involved in girls wrestling in the state probably longer than any other guest that we've had on this podcast.
Oh yeah, for sure. That was the questions I had for her. Yeah. Go ahead.
So, Jenna, when did you first start coaching here? Well, when did you first start coaching girls? Did you have any other coaching experience in the sport before you started coaching girls wrestling in Tennessee?
Well, unfortunately, I did not get to wrestle growing up. My high school did when I was but I got into wrestling when I started dating my husband. My husband from Cleveland, Bradley, and his dad was kind of like the John of Bradley.
He definitely was. He was. It was Al's dad and Heath that started Higher Calling Wrestling Club. They're the ones that started it. Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
Al Morris and Heath. They were the very first ones. So they started it, and they did it for 1 year, and they had I don't even remember because they had actually brought me up to interview me at that time, and I didn't go see one of their kids club practices, but they were telling me they had 300 kids in their kids club. It was some crazy number, kids hanging all over the rafters of the wrestling building. And I'm like, okay, well, that's not happening. If I'm doing this kids club program, that's not happening. We're not having 300 kids because I ain't dealing with them. So they ended up hiring me. So I was the second year coach. The second year of the Higher Calling Wrestling Club is when I took it over. And not that I just started telling kids they couldn't wrestle, but I wasn't doing near the marketing campaign as those guys were, because it's just, we don't have the resources to take care of 200 plus kids or however many they had. So I said, we got to.
Or the sanity, I'm sure.
Yeah, or the sanity. Yeah. I mean, what am I going to do with those kids? So, so we significantly kind of dropped the numbers, and we also started a very, very serious travel team. And, and that was when the kids travel stuff started happening. I mean, on a consistent basis. And then when I went to UTC with Heath, then Josh took over, and he's just taken it and just ran with it. So yeah. So that's crazy, because now you guys are back at Cleveland, and literally when she said that Al's dad, is like the Josh Boskin of wrestling back. She is 100% right. Because all those really good Bradley teams, they all came through Al's dad, all of them, all that kids program. So he is literally a legend. The kids love Tennessee. Yeah. So
I really got into it.
I had to go in there and throw a shout out for my boy. I just had to.
I'm learning so much right now.
I love the Morris family. I love both Al's, Andy. I mean, it's just really, really good people. They were some of the first people I met in Cleveland, and we cannot have Jenna Morris on there without me giving the Morris family a shout out, because those guys have been staples in the Tennessee wrestling community for years, for sure.
Man, so, I wouldn't have been passion without my husband's family.
Yeah.
So, just Al's dad being like an OG to wrestling in Tennessee. And so it forced Al into like bringing me into the wrestling world. And when we first started dating, I'm like, I freaking love this. Like, I was a tough athlete growing up. I didn't have those opportunities. And even when we were here in Cleveland, my husband, he was his dad's assistant coach at Walker Valley. And then he was also the head coach at Ocoee Middle, which is the feeder school that goes into Walker Valley, in which my father-in-law is still the head coach there. And my brother-in-law, Andy, helps him there too. But I would go to practices with my husband, and I'm just learning. I'm like, I love this. And then we moved back to Middle Tennessee, where I'm from, to Tullahoma, and I continue. I'm like, I love this, and I go to practice as much as I can. And we got a girl in our middle school program, and she wrestled boys at the time. So Tennessee sanctioned girls wrestling in what, 15? Yeah. I'm terrible with dates, but I'm pretty sure.
Same.
14 or 15. I think 14.
And, come on, Kenya. You got to know that.
I'm going to say 14 because it was sanctioned by the time I got into high school, and I started high school in 15.
There you go.
Okay. So
we got another Tennessee girls wrestling OG on here too. So we got specific dates here coming in here.
Yes.
So our girl from the middle school was coming up, and my husband was just like, he was at a loss of like, what are we going to do for her? And luckily I had a principal at the time who was amazing. She was all in. And so she said, we're going to start a girls wrestling program and you're going to coach. And I'm like, you got it.
Wow.
And so what she had us do the year, it was 2016. So right after they sanctioned girls wrestling, she had me just kind of take a poll at Tullahoma High School, and I got 17 girls to put their name on the paper for them to. I ended with 6 that year, and then we just there. But that's how I got into the sport, was through my husband, and just the fact that we had a girl coming up through our middle school that we were like, we're going to make this work for her, and it just kind of took off and grew from there. So.
That's awesome.
We've been doing it since I've been coaching specifically girls wrestling since 2016.
So literally from the beginning, people like to throw out the name pioneer for people like me. And I haven't even been in it for, half that long. I mean, obviously I was wrestling in the state then, but like you have literally been one of the pioneers in creating opportunities for girls in our state, even with a story as simple as like, you had a girl and she wanted to wrestle. There was a problem and you were like, well, we're going to come up with a solution. And I mean, obviously starting something from the ground up is like never easy, especially when it's already not popular. But the fact that you were, brave enough and cared enough to step up, even just for that one girl, has turned into something. I mean, now you're coaching, girls into state championships left and right. And you've been doing that for the past few years. So it's so cool just to like know your history with the sport in our state. Tell us, I cheated Hatch, and I called Jenna a little bit before our podcast to chat with her a few questions, but she taught me a bunch of things I also didn't know. So can you tell us a little bit how, like maybe on the specific side, but also just in culture and everything, like how has girls wrestling in this state changed since you started with your one girl in Tullahoma back in 2015?
So it's changed dramatically. I think back to our first year in 2016, and I had 6 girls, and with 6 girls, everyone just thought I was doing something amazing. They're like, how did you get so many girls? And, I look at our team now and we're 30 deep,
Wow.
but so much has changed. There was only 10 weights. And for example, one of the things that I'm most proud of being a part of changing was, when we first started, 185 pounds was the highest our weight class.
Wow.
And I remember I've been on the TACA committee since 2017. So after my first year, they pulled me in to be a part of that. And I remember looking at Mark in the face and going, you can't tell me that we're going to tell girls who are 185 pounds that they're considered heavyweight wrestlers.
Yeah.
So we justifiably were able to look at other states, and the next year this was before we were under NFHS rules with weight classes, and we were changed the weight classes, and we looked at specifically what California and Texas had done. And after that first year, we were able to move it to 190 pounds, which was better. And then we were able to come back the next year, and we made it, I think it went to 215. The years are running together. And then now it's up to 235. And I just think of all the girls that wouldn't be able to participate now, had it 185 pounds. We've been able to add a weight class. We've tried to do that slowly. We don't want to add too many weights too quickly and water down. We've tried to look at things at not just quantity, but quality. And we've got that same mindset with adding teams to regions and how many teams can go to the state duels. I remember back in 2016, and it was just pretty much me at Tullahoma, Rossview, and Northwest who had full teams who could wrestle a dual meet. And I remember going to Jeff Price, who was the head coach at Rossview in 2016. I was like, look, I want to wrestle dual meets just like boys do. I want my girls to have the experience to wrestle dual meets because it just didn't happen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so we traveled to Clarksville, which was over a 2-hour drive on a school night to wrestle. And we told everybody it was our region duels because we only used to have 2. They were the East and the West region. Now we have 4 regions. And so we just made it. It wasn't sanctioned by TSSAA. It was nothing, but we just made it up and said this region duels. We had T-shirts made up, everything. So we just kind of, between us and Rossview, we just kind of passed that off every year of who got to host our region duels. And it was just the 2 of us we did that for 3 or 4 years before we actually duels and get to actually go to the state tournament. So
wow.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
So you went from coaching to when there was no state dual tournament for girls in the state to when there was only 2 teams that made it, right? 1 from each region. And so now we're up to 4 different regions and 4 teams competing at state duels, which obviously I foresee that like continuing to grow and change as, or at least how many teams are in each region is going to continue to grow and change as we move on. But that's just so crazy to think of that. I mean, you've been coaching in this sport in the state since, there was no such thing as a state dual tournament, and now you're winning the state dual tournament. That's such a full picture moment.
Tell you what, we say this all the time on here, Kenya. It's gonna be crazy, like what the landscape looks like in 5 years with
Absolutely.
girls wrestling in Tennessee.
Yeah.
Because now thanks to people like Jenna, Doug Badon, people like that up in that Clarksville area, the Rossview area, people like that. Thank you for them for setting it. Getting it in motion and getting it going. And now, and really digging in and doing it, really, honestly, the hard work. They really did. They did all the hard work. So now, not that it's easy from here on out, but it's a lot easier for, because of people like that. That's for sure.
Absolutely. They've at least made it to the point where it was the hard work and it wasn't cool. It wasn't the cool thing to do, which probably hard. So you've at least done the work until it was cool. And now everything else will probably take care of itself.
Right. It wasn't cool, that's for sure. I remember back in the day of actually, I literally got in an altercation with a ref once because he did not want to. He was like, I'm not doing it. And I don't know if you know me very well. I don't deal well with them. Like, dude, I will cut you if you don't ref my girl.
Oh man.
I had to fight because it was not cool. It was not cool. And people have just around completely. I think they realize that girls grows the boys' side and it all works together. Girls are just as capable of it as boys.
Absolutely.
Love it.
Well, yeah, it's awesome to have you on, and like
you're getting a lot of love here from your girl squad here on the chats.
Oh, fun.
This actually might be the most well, we've actually had, I can't remember the other one that had a lot of comments, but Coach Jenna, you've got like a ton of comments going on here.
Well, what I can tell you is
Young and Cleveland and Madeline and Piper and Kamoria and all your girls, huh? Adriana.
Oh, geez, that's for sure.
Listen, we're giving a lot of credits to Coach Boskin earlier, but he didn't have quite the fan club when he was on here as you're having.
Not at all.
That's because Boston is telling them to do that. Again, they'll run through a wall and do whatever he says.
Either way, awesome. I think you should rub it in his face.
Tell you what, you guys got quite the thing at Cleveland. It's crazy because I mean not that Cleveland needed any more help before the Morrises moved. I mean, honestly, their program. I mean, they have like a ton of resources. They have a ton of tradition. They have a ton of everything. And then all of a sudden, Al got the AD job, and his wife came with him. I was like, that's convenient.
Way more fun to do what I'm doing.
Yeah, right.
I tell Josh all the time, I love just being the assistant. I love not having to be the head coach. I get to do the fun stuff now.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Well, it's super, super cool to have you on. It's such a full circle moment. I think, Coach Jenna, you're the first female coach that I'd ever met or been coached by or learned from in Tennessee. So it's super cool to go from, I mean, little bitty Kenya who didn't even talk to anyone on national team to me sitting here on a podcast with you talking about how the sport has grown in our state. So congrats on your win this past weekend. And it's so cool to be able to have you on here. It feels full circle. So do you have anything left for Coach Jenna, Hatch?
No, I think we just need to have her on again. Pick her brain some more on. I learned a lot about women's wrestling in Tennessee.
Yeah, anytime.
Telling you, we got to have her back on again at some point in time. Maybe around freestyle and Greco season or freestyle. I guess freestyle for the girls. But how much that's changed. That's coming up here pretty soon.
That's true.
So that might be a good one.
Okay. Definitely. Well, put it on your calendar. We'll have you back on when freestyle starts.
Yeah, sounds good.
Thanks
for having me.
All right.
Yeah, thanks so much.
All right. See ya.
All right. Yeah. I'll tell you what, the Morris, I mean, even without Jenna in the Morris family is literally their contributions to Tennessee wrestling in general is just, I mean, incredible, between Andy Al and Big Al. But then you throw Jenna in the mix too for what she's done on the girls' side. It's just that's awesome. I mean, that family's just done a ton for our state. That's for sure. So yeah, really, really great people. That's a great answer right there, Kenya. Great job. Great job.
Thanks. You still one up me though. I finally thought I was having someone on the podcast that I went way back with, and then you're like, I went back further.
Oh, well, I mean, that's because I'm old. Shoot, I go way back with everybody. When you start to get me my age, it is what it is. Kenya.
That's how it goes.
Well, let me get into the guys' side a little bit here.
Yeah.
It was an awesome girls tournament. Actually, like I said, I was there. I wasn't there. I showed up. I was there about halfway through the 3:00 session. Actually towards the end. I was at the Penn State Ohio State match on Friday.
Yeah.
So
cooler people to be with, cooler places.
I wouldn't quite say that.
Come back and show us some.
Now, if I were in Iowa, then that would be different. But I was so I mean, nothing to get. I mean, my boy Bernie, I love him. I mean, he knows that. But yeah, I mean, I'm not an Iowa fan. And I was at Penn State. I was at Penn State. It was like, it's just, I don't think I need to say anything else. But it was cool. It was a great match, great wrestling. Unfortunately, everything was awesome. I mean, it was just, there was a lot of really good wrestling. And then got to 184, and my boy was already had a major, was working on tech, and got caught and pinned. So, yeah. So, I mean, which was a huge upset because that kid was unranked. I think Bernie was ranked 4th in the country, but he'll be all right. I mean, it's,
it happens.
I took him and his girlfriend out dinner afterwards, and we just looked at each other. I saw him out there. The first time I saw him, I was like, he's like, we started laughing. So yeah, he'll be fine. He'll be fine. So it'll be all good. But yeah, I rolled in about that 3 o'clock, and there's a lot of really competitive matches on both the boys and girls, and it was a good tournament. I wasn't planning on staying for the whole thing, but man, oh man, there's some great wrestling in that 5 o'clock and 7 o'clock round. So yeah, I said why not? But from a results standpoint, the D2s, the AAA division, man, I tell you what, we had them on the podcast before. We've had some of the youngsters, the wrestlers on the podcast, but the McCauley school pulled it out, knocked off. Actually, Father Ryan. I mean, this was like super competitive division. I honestly think that they literally could wrestle this division 10 times and they would have, a different every single time. Yeah. But first round, Father Ryan beat, obviously a really good Baylor team, beat them 37-30. On the other side, McCauley beat Christian Brothers 52-18. And then the finals, it was a great match. It really looked like Father Ryan was going to had it kind of, in the bag a little bit. And McCauley, the Father Ryan kid, and I'm not going to throw any names, but was actually had him in a Granby or had him in Peterson. And then the other kid got a reversal, got him and pinned him, and it totally turned the tide. And then McCauley went in the last match, obviously favored, and they ended up pulling away 38-31. So it was it was a great match. It really was. It was, it was fantastic. So in the Division 1A class, Sadi Daisy, who, obviously you talk about a traditional powerhouse. Ulrich Weinsberg has done a fantastic job there since he took over. So they ended up winning, beat Tullahoma in the finals, 44-16. Relatively, Tullahoma, they had a big win the first round against Signal Mountain, who I believe is the defending state champs. I'm not sure if people were looking at Tullahoma coming out of that bottom part of the bracket, but they beat Signal Mountain last year, or they beat Signal Mountain in the first round. And this is my boy Bob Callison. He came to us from Arizona, so he was a buddy of mine in Arizona. Wow. We actually did some stuff with USA Wrestling when I spent my year in Arizona. He got a hold of me last spring and said he wanted to move to Tennessee, and I said, "Come on with it." So I had about 3 different people that talked to him for a job, and he settled on Tullahoma, which I'm really super happy that he did, because it's just a really good fit for him, and he's done just a fantastic job there his first year. But they beat Signal Mountain, defending state champs, 39-31 the first round. And then Traditional Power, they had Traditional Power, Pigeon Forge in the semis, and they beat them 38-27. So they've had a really good run at it, because obviously everybody knows Pigeon Forge is always there in the mix. And like I said, Bob got his team in the finals, got them ready to roll. And Sadi Daisy just had a really strong team this year. So hats off to Ulrich, hats off to Shane Turner, who's back there coaching now, and they've done a fantastic job. And also shout out to Anderson County, who Coach Davis from the Knoxville area had told me that this is literally the first time they've ever qualified for the state duels. So they actually won a match in the second round of the first round of the consolations, and had a really great showing. So hats off to that program as well.
That's awesome.
Division 1 AA. Obviously, Cleveland, heavy favorite in that one, but everybody knew that their probably their stiffest competition was going to come, right out the chute there against Summit, and it was obviously a very, very heatedly contested match, and back and forth, and just a really good match from what I understand. Obviously, it was 9 o'clock in the morning, and I was on an airplane, so I didn't see it. But great duel. They ended up winning that 38-26. Beat Brentwood in the semis 45-30, and then beat Knox Halls 38-36 in the finals. But obviously everybody kind of knows that I think they forfeited like the last 6 weights moving out of there. And but Knoxville Halls came out of the bottom bracket with a couple of really, really big wins. Obviously Bartlett, they beat Bartlett first round. We had their coach on the podcast last week, and then beat traditional powerhouse Bradley Central in the semis. So so they had a great showing as well, especially for their first year getting up in that big school division there. And then Brentwood, very impressive on the way back. I mean, had a really tight match with Dobbin Bennett, who has some great kids in that program as well. Beat them in the consolation semis, and then finally took out Summit. Damon Smith's been knocking on that door, and Summit and Brentwood have had some battles here in Middle Tennessee, throughout the years, and Summit, has always seemed to come out on top. And Coach Smith had his guys ready. That's for sure. I watched that match real close because I had a lot of my young guns kids on both sides of them. And I'll tell you what, it was a great match. And like I said, congratulations to Damon and his staff. They really were ready to go. And congratulations to the kids too. I mean, Brentwood's one of the ones that has really put in a lot of time in the off season, and great job. Hats off to them. So it was a great match. And then last but certainly not least, in the 1A AA, another private school division, Lakeway Christian Academy turned the tides, and my boy Mike Sutherland from last year. Last year they met in the finals, and Boyd got him last year, so Lakeway got them this year in the championship match. Lakeway started out the tournament beating Brentwood Academy 56-18, and then beat Boyd in the finals there 42-30. And with Brentwood Academy coming back and getting third place overall over Battleground Academy. But yeah, I mean, they had a great tournament. And actually, without further ado, we're going to bring on our next guest right here, and he's going to tell us a little bit about it. So there he is.
How are you?
What's up, Tony DeAngelo?
Man?
How we doing?
Good, brother.
I'm good, man. Good seeing you. I ain't seen you in a minute.
I know, it's been a while.
I know. This is my co-host, Kenya Sloan.
What's up, Kenya? How are you?
I'm good.
Each other. You guys are in the same area.
Well, I've not met. We've not met. Have we met?
I don't think we have. No.
You gotta watch
okay.
out. Tony's going to bring you over, and you're not going to be a high school coach anymore. You're going to be straight up Tennessee Wrestling Academy coach.
That's right. We'll put you in the club game.
You better be careful here.
Yeah.
Put you in the club game.
We've got it. Yeah, that'll be good.
But no, yeah, I've known Tony for actually long. So here's a crazy story. So like this, out of all the guests that I've had on here, Tony might be the youngest guest that I've been introduced to, like that we've had. I'm talking like when I was introduced to him. I think I was working my buddy Daryl Weber and Kevin Dresser's camps in North Georgia.
Oh yeah,
Dahlonega, Georgia, and Tony probably, dude, you couldn't have been, but shoot, 8, 10. I mean, I don't know, 10.
Young, yeah,
I was like, who is this kid? So I'm really good with buddies with his dad, Randy.
Yep.
So Randy was like the first one that ever like introduced a kettlebell to me. I was like,
oh yeah.
I remember
He was ahead of his time, man. He was ahead of his time.
And now I do. That's all I do. That's all I do for strength training.
That's so funny.
Yeah, 30 years later. I mean, it's awesome. Crazy. So so I met Randy, got really good buddies with him. So then, but still, there's more to the story. So, so his older brother Joe was coming through. So I was at Chattanooga at the time. So I ended up recruiting Joe. So he came to Chattanooga for a year, and then I was at Chattanooga the whole time. And Tony actually he was a freaking knockout wrestler. And then I know we tried to get him when I was at Chattanooga. That didn't work. So he went his way to Missouri. But then circle back, I was at Cal Poly, and West Virginia coach at the time hired Tony as his assistant at West Virginia.
Yeah.
So they came out and wrestled us in dual meets every year. So here I was coaching against him at Cal Poly.
That was great.
West Virginia. Pretty wild.
It was wild.
Then I moved here. Took the state chairman job again. He was our East director, and heavily involved in USA Wrestling in Freestyle and Greco, and runs Tennessee Wrestling Academy. And
you can't get away from him.
Like,
no, I can't.
I don't want to. I don't want to.
Yeah,
I don't want to. Yeah, I don't want to. And then it's crazy. His brother Joe was at West Point when I was at Cal. When I was at Cal Poly. I was dating their athletic trainer at the time. I was living in California, dating their athletic trainer in New York at the time. So I'd see Joe all the time. It was wild. Yeah. So I've known the DeAngelos forever.
Yeah. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. So I mean, and great people. I mean, we are so lucky to have this guy in Tennessee, because as you all know, Knoxville, it's a area that can be very, very well developed out there. It really can.
Yeah, there's a lot of great athletes out here.
There is a ton, and it takes great coaches like himself and Shannon Sane and all those guys there, Lauderdale in that area, to really, really push wrestling in that area. And what they've done for that area is really, 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 truly tremendous. And not only that, but Tony bringing in Zeke Moisey, as his not only assistant on the high school team, but also with the Tennessee Wrestling Academy. And I just looking back last weekend at all the teams that won the state titles on the guys' side, and they all have one thing in common. They all do. And it's that they all not only wrestle in the off season and kind of toy around with the off season stuff, but they are literally at everything. Like they are at all the events. You're talking about the Macaulay kids. You're talking about the Baylor kids. You're talking about the Lakeway kids. You're talking about the Saudi kids who they've had a really strong off season and went to the bigger, freestyle rep, the Cleveland. I mean, that goes without saying. Cleveland on the girls' side. So, man, when teams like this are performing that the way they are and winning state championships, it is a huge plug for not only Tennessee USA Wrestling, but also what the kids do to get at that level. So we're super fortunate to have Tony in the state and doing what he's doing in the East. And so tell us about it, man. This is state title.
It was fun. It was
sweet,
a really good time.
I saw you guys crazy over there.
we lost it. We actually lost to Boyd the weekend before. I don't know if you know.
I know.
We lost to Boyd in the region finals by 11 points, and 10 of those points were I might have gave up a team point if I'm being honest with you. But 10 of those points were from us losing matches, and so for us to turn the tide like that, it was really it was special for our guys and special. The coin toss definitely helped. And we kind of got to pick some matchups there that we liked a little bit better. And kind of we're in the driver's seat the whole time, which is kind of crazy. So I think a lot of our parents.
What was the strategy behind that with the coin toss?
I think we wanted to, I think we had anticipated him bumping some guys up to catch us at some of our upper weights where we weren't as strong. And so, when we won the toss and chose odd, we forfeited right off the rip. Well, we lost 57. We forfeited 65, and I think it threw him for a loop until he caught on what was happening. And then we rebumped. And so we ended up catching some matchups that were probably more favorable than what they would have been. And even still, we still had to win some matches that were close the week before, even ones that we lost the week before. Shout out Brody Casto. He's my 75-pounder. He bumped up to 90. He lost to Caden Bates the weekend before. I think it was like 5-1, and then went out there and got a big win for the team.
Wow.
And that was really got us all pumped up. And we, as a coaching staff, we looked at each other and we were like, this strategy might have worked here, fellas. Go pull this off. From then on,
I've done something right.
I've done something right for once. And then from then on, kind of everything fell in our favor. Did the same thing at 13, bumped from 13 and bumped our tough 13-pounder up to another kid we felt was a better matchup for him. It worked out for us. And then, we're in the driver's seat at that point, really. And so it kind of just all went our way that night, which is interesting. I've been on the other side of that. Last year we beat him. I want to say we beat him in the region finals, and then he beat us in the state finals. And so I know how he was feeling over there. And I'm like, man, I'm glad I'm not feeling that way, but I do know how he's feeling.
I'm sorry you're feeling that way, but glad it's not me.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the thing is, when you got like two very well coached teams like the two of you got, I mean, that's the thing with the small school, private school division.
Yeah.
It's still, I mean, you're talking about two of the very best coaches we have in the state of Tennessee between Tony and Mike Sutherland. And so, I mean, like very, very, very in tune with not only their team, but what's going on and where's that. So it's a lot of strategy, like especially with, that small school, you only got a certain amount of population. You only got a certain amount of kids in that thing, it's a lot of strategy. It really is. And man, I knew it was going to be like that.
We're weighing some kids in, we're trying to get kids to, it's interesting on the, growing up, we never really had this issue, but we're trying to get one kid. We're trying to make sure that we had a backup at 157 pounds if we needed him. So this poor kid was drinking waters before he got on the scale. And he looked at me, he's like, Coach, I've got to go pee, man. I'm like, you've got to hold it, dog. I don't want to tell you. He about let it go on himself, getting on the scale. He was doing the dance. So it was pretty funny. But it's just interesting how you have to kind of move kids around and kudos to our kids for always being game for when we tell them to do something. Hey, you're weighing in at this weight, or you're doing this, or you're doing that. Okay, Coach, no problem. And they jump out there and do it, man. And it's great to see. So
wow. Well, I mean, and Tony's got the luxury of, not only, having himself as far as, an elite level coach running that program, but he's got two like outstanding assistants. Yeah. Between, like I said, again, we mentioned Zeke Moisey already, who's a NCAA runner-up for West Virginia. Yeah. And then my guy, Hunter Fortner,
HT, baby.
That's right. UTC, one of my UTC guys. I love that guy, man. I love that kid. I saw him outside before that finals match on Saturday night, walking in and talk about a very, very passionate staff. I mean, these three, they come ready to coach.
It's funny. We've got to calm ourselves down sometimes. Sometimes I gotta play the dad role with those.
Yeah, you do. It's just kind of crazy.
Inside, I want to freak out. My heart's racing, and I look over and those two are going nuts. I'm like, fellas, you've got to calm down. Yeah, you're right. So, staff too, we have a kid by the name of Dylan Bargatze. He's an upperweight guy. He wrestled. He was a Tennessee wrestler. He wrestled at he wrestled in the Nashville area. And then Chris Hawkins, who was at CAK for a long time, he moved over. His family moved over, and he teaches at the school. And he's on staff too. So we've got a great staff and a lot of guys who are really passionate about and just committed to the sport. And it makes my life easy. I see a lot of head coaches sometimes are almost by themselves, it seems like, at tournaments and stuff. And I'm like, man, I'm one lucky son of a gun to have 4 dudes here who are willing to do whatever for a team. It's pretty neat. So our guys are lucky. Yeah. I'm lucky. Yeah.
No, absolutely. Absolutely. And it's really, it's a testament to what you got going on in that area too, with your Tennessee Wrestling Academy.
Sure. Yeah.
Because you got, not only kids that are really excelling, on the state level, but you've got guys that, Division I signees. You got guys that are placing in high level national tournaments.
Right.
And we need to continue to have more of that in all areas of Tennessee. We really do.
Right. Yeah. It's been a blessing. We've got, we've had a lot of people gravitate to Zeke. I had the club reins for a while there. Me and Joey Moon, who wrestled at UNC. He was down here for a number of years. When Joey left, we brought Zeke Moisey in, and when Zeke came down here, he grabbed that thing by the horns, man. And he's really taken off with it. And he's got his brother here, Cade, him, the Moisey, right. Coach Moiseys, we call them. They butt heads like brothers sometimes. They work really well together, and it's awesome to see. And Zeke is so passionate about wrestling at all levels. I see, the way he coaches high school kids and the way he coaches middle school kids and the way he coaches 5-year-olds in our beginner program. He's got the same energy level and same passion for it. And I think, he brings that to the table. People just want to fight for those guys and fight for Coach Moisey and the other coaches there. It's really great to see.
No, that's absolutely. Yeah. Cause like I said, I think just, that you can just really tell, like you can tell like the, just what's going on in East Tennessee. It's so great. It's great to see a lot of those kids, in the area, just, continue to not only excel in our state, but excelling at the national level and getting themselves where we're, as a state, we're getting a presence on that national level, which is important.
Absolutely.
And it takes all 4 areas. It takes this area stepping up and getting those guys there. It takes that Cleveland, Chattanooga area. Same thing with our Middle Tennessee area, and then of course out west. With guys do a good job out there. So I think it's really a benefit to our state without question. So. But yeah, like I said, the dual tournament, man, that had to be something else. But now you guys are ready to turn and burn.
We had to knock them down. We had to knock them down a peg on Monday, man. Yeah. We had all those men walk around the hallways inflated, and they came in the locker room, and I sat them all down. I'm like, fellas, back to 0-0, boys. And that's got to be your mindset. We had to knock them all down a little bit. I think Coach Moisey went out there and whooped about half the team that day at practice, so that kind of helps a little bit. But
I love it.
Reel them back into reality and get them prepped for regions and states. So,
and because that's the thing. Because a lot of times, you look at, especially, our private school divisions here in Tennessee, and there's not a whole lot of them. There's just not a whole lot of teams. So you think maybe like even the small private school teams, really, when they get to the bigger private school teams, aren't going to be really compete. But that is not the case with Lakeway. You guys have some absolute horses there that are going to make a huge impact on that private school state tournament.
Yeah, that's the expectation for us, and we've always said that. Our goals as for individuals, our goals for the individuals on the team is to go win a state title. Mm-hmm. That's what they're working towards. And as a team, if everybody does their job as a team, we'll be able to come together and win a state dual title and find ourselves in that position often, hopefully. But for a lot of our guys, they're just as hungry for the individual, status and the state titles as they are for team one, which is, important for us too. And then of course, we're looking beyond that. We have this conversation a lot. We want prep national All-Americans.
Yep.
We send guys to prep nationals every year. Our goal is to put out prep national All-Americans and turn these guys into some college wrestlers. So, I think you've got a good group of dedicated individuals at Lakeway who, you kind of have your core group of 8 to 10 guys who are training all summer together and doing all those things. They really lift each other up. And I think that's important, when you're trying to compete at that level.
No, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. And that kind of, obviously, with your Tennessee Wrestling Academy that you have there, kind of talk to us a little bit about how that, how that whole club situation works, with it ties in with the local schools and so forth, and also the camp system that you have there.
Yeah. So for us, it's a way for, that's what was originally there. Lakeway, when I first got to Tennessee and started the club deal, Lakeway wasn't built. There was no Lakeway. And then it's a brand new high school. It's a beautiful facility. It's a brand new high school that they built while I was a coach while I was coaching TNWA, and kind of one thing led to another, and rolled into the a head coaching job here. And so it's always been integrated in some sense. Out of season, our guys compete with TNWA, and in season they compete with Lakeway, and it provides a lot of training opportunities for our guys to get different looks. It's not the same two guys that you wrestle in practice every day. It's not the same, training site every time. We got a club in Morristown and one here in one in Kingsport, and so our guys are bouncing back and forth all the time, getting different looks from all these different kids and all these different people, and it just really goes well with trying to create the same environment at Lakeway, trying to get those same kids here and getting them to compete here. So.
Oh, that's
and
awesome.
then as far as the camps go, Coach Moisey, when I was there, I always made a point to do a camp every month. Always made a camp, always made a point to do a monthly training camp. And Coach Moisey has continued that same thing. And I think it's just a consistent way for kids to say, hey, I know I'm going to that camp this month on this weekend, and I know who's going to be there. I know who I'm going to get to train with, and I know I'm going to get 2 to 3 days of really good training and at a consistent level. And it draws a lot of kids in, a lot of tough kids in for our, and then for our high school guys to go compete with and train with and give them a different look and a different feel. So
that's good stuff. That's good stuff. Yeah. I mean, so if anybody ever questioned if the interest is there in East Tennessee from a club perspective, I think that's been answered.
Right. Yes, sir.
Sure.
Look us up.
Sure.
Look us up on Facebook.
There you go. I mean, so Lakeway wasn't even around, Kenya, when you were around there, huh?
No. And so what city are you in?
I'm in White Pine, Tennessee. It's about an hour east of Knoxville. Right off here. In between Knoxville and Kingsport. Yep.
Okay. Yeah. So I'm a little less familiar. But what year was your guys' inaugural year of the wrestling program?
Say that again.
What year was the inaugural year of when did you first start the wrestling program?
Would have been 4 years ago, I think.
Okay.
Maybe 2019, 2020 season was kind of our first season. We had one season where we weren't TSSAA eligible.
Sure.
And it's kind of fun. We had 4 or 5 guys on the team. And we had some hammers. We had some guys that were really good. And we would go around and compete at tournaments knowing that we couldn't wrestle in the state tournament. And these guys would go out there and just lay it on. Guys like Braden Ivy, who, he was one of the first, obviously, that came over to Lakeway when it all kind of went down. And then, we had a couple guys from Greenville and a kid out of Virginia come down and know that they're not going to compete for a state title that year, but wanted to just kind of cut the trail for the rest of everybody else. And it's funny. That was kind of the conversation we've had this week was, we've always done well as the underdog. When we first started the program 4 or 5 years ago, we didn't have a lot of guys. We didn't have a lot of, half the school didn't know what wrestling was, and so we've kind of put ourselves on the map and scratched and clawed and fought and kind of jumped onto the map there as a competitive team. And then, we were good and won a state title in 2000, would have been 2 years ago. Last year we took second. The year before we won a state title. Last year we took second. And then, we had always considered ourselves a great team and we're going to be competitive for a state title. And after our loss at the region duels, I was like, fellas, we're back to being the underdogs, and it feels good. Like, we are good there. We operate well there. So
it feels good. Yeah. Yeah. That's big measure about what you're doing over there, Hatch. Like you said, this program popped up when I was in college. So I wasn't living here in Tennessee, and I come back which has just been in the past few months. Tony, I know we don't know each other, but I just got back to Tennessee recently, and I hear Lakeway this, Lakeway that, and I'm like, who's this team? Where did they come from? And so I think it just speaks measures about, I mean, it's not like you are at a school or in an area where there's just this deep history and culture with wrestling. Like you've really been paving the way and almost like a pioneering way at your school and in the area that you're in. So I think that's way cooler than just being at a place that's kind of bound to win no matter what, just because wrestling.
It's been a great experience. I remember, when I first got hired, I met with our athletic director, Bruce Fowler, and he's a big athletics guy. He was the defensive coordinator for Vanderbilt, and he had spent a lot of time in athletics, and he was the AD at the time. And I got hired as the wrestling coach, and afterwards he's like, all right, what's next? I'm like, well, I guess we got to get some mats, man. Like, we got to go find some wrestling mats. And we got to get some kids, and we got to get some singlets, bro. And we got to, it was interesting. And it's been cool to be part of the whole thing from the ground up. Like, I didn't walk in and have to do inventory. Heck, we didn't have none, it's been fun. It's been a really good time, and just learning, building relationships with different coaches, and just getting the opportunity to work with such a great school, and the whole school has had that mindset. The whole school has had the mindset of hey, we're here and we're here to stay, and we want to be competitive at everything we do. From administrative standpoint, all the way down to every student in the building is just that way, and it's such a cool experience. So I wouldn't trade it for anything. As wild as it was, the school wasn't built, and I'm ordering wrestling mats and then having to have them delivered somewhere, and we're having to move them, and I've got no team. I've got no team, man.
Yeah.
I got no guys.
I know.
And I'm running around. I'm the only coach. I'm running around trying to grab everything, and it was just designing singlets, and they're like, well, how many singlets you need? I'm like, I don't know. I got no idea.
Yeah.
And now look at that. The school doesn't even know anything, but they didn't have any wrestling, didn't know anything about wrestling. And now this dude we had to kind of position his time in his interview in this because the school is celebrating the state championship.
Yep. It was great. Yeah, they do a great job. They support us so well, and they support every program here well, but they are so supportive of wrestling and so supportive of our student athletes. And it's really cool to see, especially I'm from the South. I'm from North Carolina originally, and it's not quote unquote the hotbed of wrestling. And I think from a Southern standpoint, to see the support that the kids get, man, they don't know how much of a blessing that is.
Yeah.
They don't understand how much of a blessing that is and how cool that is for them. So it's really been awesome.
That's good. Good stuff. Love it. Love it. Tony, love having you on, man. Can you get anything else for Tony here?
No, it's so cool to meet you and hear about your.
Good to meet you too.
Yeah.
Yep. Well, good deal. Well, my man, I'm sure I will see you here in a couple weeks.
Yes, sir.
At the state tournament.
Yeah, we'll be at Nashville, baby.
You got it, man. Like I said, we'll have to meet up then, and like I said, we'll definitely see you at the tournament.
I think Randy's coming.
Is he?
For the first time, yeah.
That's what I'm talking about. Tell him he's got to reach out to me.
I've had to win 2 state. And you know my dad well. I've had to win 2 state titles for him to come out and watch me coach.
Yeah.
I've earned his respect now. I've earned his respect now, so he'll be there.
Oh, I love it. Good deal. I can't wait to see him. All right, my man. We appreciate your time, big dog.
Appreciate you.
All right. Bye. Oh, yeah, man. He does a killer job up there. I mean, he really does. Not only with his Lakeway team, obviously, but boy, he's got all the better kids in East Tennessee. They're just love. I mean, he's in like I said, national caliber kid. So yeah, he does a great job. It's crazy how like I said, I've known his family for years. So it's love having him in the state. We're really really lucky to have him up there developing talent. But I actually I got a comment here, and I made a mistake when I was doing the results. Thank you, Renee Turner, for pointing this out. But Halls, and I should have known this. Halls was the defending state champ last year in Division 1A. Yeah, they won last year. Not Signal Mountain. They beat Signal Mountain last year when they won their first title. I actually had Shannon on the podcast because they had won the first one. So I probably should have caught that. But
Hey,
I'm 51, not 31. I think I'm losing.
You can't blame everything. This is becoming
Listen, I'm above 50. I'm above that 50 half century mark, Kenya. And I'm just gonna keep throwing that right. I'm gonna keep playing those chips.
Hey, you got them. Might as well you play them.
That's it right there. Listen, I'm getting old. Shoot, a little bit senile.
Yeah.
That's it right there. Yeah. So another great show, man. What cool guests we had. You talk about some wrestling knowledge. We had some wrestling knowledge on there tonight.
Yeah, I think like with the 2 guests, it was like obviously cool to hear about their most recent performances and success, but we also had 2 guests who have like very rich, intimate history with wrestling in the area that they are and in the programs that they're involved in.
Yeah.
And I think that kind of created a unique, like almost nostalgic feel to our podcast. Obviously, it's my first time meeting Tony, but it still felt the same just seeing like you guys reminisce about history with each other and then him able to talk, and you can just see so much joy and pride in him about the program that he's built, as he should. But I think it's cool to it's way cooler to start something and let it be your baby and see it turn into something great versus walking into something that's already cool. And we had on the podcast too, have literally started from nothing and helped to
they had to make up whatever. They made their own state tournament region.
Yeah, made up their own.
With their own T-shirts. Everything was
Yeah.
sanctioned. Hey, we'll just get together. We're gonna have regions. We go, okay, let's do it.
Yeah.
That's on. That was what a cool story that was. And
Yeah.
then, like I said, I didn't even know that Lakeway wasn't. I thought Lakeway had been around for a while, but I guess
No.
built the school 5 years ago.
I had never heard of Lakeway until, I mean, honestly, just within the past month or two. And I was like, where is this school? Where did this team come from? I thought I was just like confused for not knowing, but I mean, it makes perfect sense knowing that they, started this within the past few years. So, yeah.
Well, like I said, they got it going. That's for sure. But yeah, a big congratulations to all the teams out there that won titles last weekend, and also the other ones that had great showings. I mean, there was, you don't necessarily have to be the champ to have great showing. There's some really good. Yeah, there's some great showings there, and looking forward to the. I mean, now we got our first round of state champs crowned, Kenya. So we're looking forward here now.
I'm excited for the second round.
Yeah, we got that's coming in a couple weeks now. I think next weekend. This weekend is the. Well, actually, we got a couple things going on. We have I want to say it's the private school regionals. That's for sure.
Yeah.
No. I'm sorry. The big school regionals, private school sectionals. And then the following weekend is the private school state, big school sectionals. And then the following weekend after that, big school state, private school, national preps.
There you go.
Yeah.
I'm glad that.
Yeah. So I know the bigger schools got one more week.
Okay, cool.
Private schools. And this coming weekend is our Club Fest, inaugural Club Fest event here in Middle Tennessee. Got a lot of really good kids signed up. It's going to be good.
So it sounds like if you're not signed up,
if you're not signed up, you're absolutely out of your mind. If you ask me, it's crazy, especially if you're, in Tennessee or even, I know we have a lot of our kids that are signed up from this Middle Tennessee area, but I know we have a very good number from the other. We have a pretty good number from the other 4 clubs that we have in Tennessee. I think between Wave, Ground Zero, Higher Calling, Minion, and TNWA. So pretty good. But if you're in the state of Tennessee and you're not here, I mean, that's kind of crazy because literally teams from Georgia and Alabama are coming all the way up here. So there's really no excuse, in my opinion. I don't know. I mean, and then we have some kids from Iowa coming down from Seabolt. So that's kind of, I don't know. It's kind of cool. I'm just saying. I mean, I don't know. If you miss it, then I guess whatever. I don't know. All we can do is provide the opportunity, and then what's the old thing? You gotta say you can lead the horse to water. You can't make him drink.
Yeah, you sound like somebody's dad right now. You sound like my dad right now.
Oh yeah. Say, hey, listen, I don't know. A lot of really good wrestlers there.
It's like
a lot of really good wrestlers, a lot of really good coaches there. I mean, I don't know. If you don't want to go, you don't want to go.
Yeah. You're funny. You say, I'm not going to tell you what to do, but I'm going to tell you what you should do.
Yeah.
And if you don't, you might have these consequences. Not gonna, up to you.
Yeah, it might be that time where, you know what, maybe you wrestle this kid that you would have wrestled this weekend at this Club Fest thing, wrestle them later on. Maybe they beat you and you're like, oh, shoot, I wish I would have wrestled that kid before. Maybe I could have found out what he done. I don't know. What do I know?
Yeah, you're only 51, so probably.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, I'm still young.
Yeah.
Sport yet. I don't know what I'm doing. Anyway, so long story short, we do have some great things going on this weekend. So I actually can't wait for that. Can't wait for the other tournaments going around. I've actually hopefully next week I might have a really big announcement for Middle Tennessee.
Okay.
Possibly. So I'm just gonna throw it out there. We'll see. I know I'm going to have at least one big announcement, but there could be an even bigger one. Just we'll see.
Just a little tease out. I said just throwing a little tease out there. So if you were thinking about maybe not watching our podcast next week, now you should.
Yeah, now you should. I mean, I'm just saying, yeah, you might want to. But that's it. Enough of us chirping it up. So everyone, thanks so much for joining in. That was a great podcast. That was good.
It was a great podcast.
Yeah, I tell you what, great guests. We got to have those two. The knowledge. I mean, I love having the ones that they all have knowledge, whether they're kids or not. But
sure,
man, having the ones that have done, especially like you said, build it from scratch. It's a hard thing to do. That is so hard to do. But Jenna and Tony have done. It's very difficult to do.
I'm sure.
A lot of work. All right, that's it. Kenny, got anything else for the listeners?
Nope. We need to get off here. It's past our bedtime.
Yeah, right. Exactly. Yeah, that's right. Especially you. You're out east. All right, everyone. We appreciate it. We will be back next week on Tuesday. Best of luck to all the wrestlers wrestling this weekend, and we will see you all next week. Goodbye. There we go.